Throughout history, there have been many powerful mages who were able to use their magic to do the impossible. For instance, O.J. Simpson was a powerful illusionist known for escaping one of the biggest scandals in American history, while Sean Diddy Combs was a conjurer who was able to summon over 1,000 bottles of baby oil at his command. Although these mages are all extremely powerful, I have one thing that the mages before me never had: a legally binding contract with Satan. Today's challenge is very simple. Starting off with a single vampire warlock in medieval Rimworld, can I gather enough doomsday sympathizers who are willing to bridge the gap between hell and earth in order to summon literal demons from hell to wipe humanity off the face of the earth? Before I can brainwash my local schizophrenics into supporting my cause, we need to address our immediate problem. Vampires in Rimworld need to suck to live. Contrary to popular belief, going freaky style on someone is not a taboo. It is simply a necessity to live. If I don't keep this meter full by sucking the soul out of some people, my demon-loving vampire won't live long enough to see the end times. Thankfully, not long after hauling many of my supplies to a nearby cave, a potential suckee made his way into my base. His name was Gabe, and he was part of a kingdom of knights who executed, enslaved, and cannibalized people. Running into Gabe was proof that people can really better themselves and change their lives by meeting the right person. Because now, instead of Gabe being a cannibal who executed and enslaved people, he was now a cannibal who executed and enslaved people for me. Gabe joined our cause, and not only did this mean our vampire Garza now had someone to suck on, but it also meant we had our first minion. As a warlock, Garza can soul bond with another colonist. This process turns them into his familiar. In return for literally siphoning Gabe's life force, Gabe gets the one thing that every human has always dreamed of: true happiness. However, true happiness comes at a cost. Garza can now summon him at any point, teleport to him, and on top of that, he will fight to the death for Garza no matter what. There are many more spells that allow our warlock to abuse the minds of others, but he'll have to level up his magic a bit more and gain those over time. Now that we have a stable source of blood for our vampire, it's time to have our soulbound pet start turning this mountainside into our new headquarters. We worked on creating a storage room for our supplies. However, Gabe's progress was extremely slow, and he wasn't really getting anywhere with this project. I think this might have been the game's way of telling me that there's maybe some downsides to draining a man's consciousness, turning him into a walking zombie, and throwing him into the mines. Thankfully, before I could uncover some deep lesson about treating others the right way, I realized there's a much simpler solution to solving this problem.
Today's subject: slavery.
A barbarian named Elena made her way into our base. She was extremely skilled at mining. Gabe might have sucked at base production, but he was no stranger to the arts of performing a crisp, breezy combo on Elena. After knocking her out, Elena nearly died on the spot from her injuries. However, do not fret about poor Elena's life. Much like the pioneers used to piss on jellyfish stings, my warlock has something even more powerful than the urine of a drunk surfer.
Hawk tuds!
By hawk-tooing on Elena, not only am I able to appeal to some sort of freaky kink my vampire has, but I'm also able to instantly heal her wounds with what only can be described as a salivary compound from quote-unquote special glands. Normally using an ability like this wouldn't be smart, as vampires only have limited blood reserves. However, because we've turned Gabe into our personal lobotomite, I don't really have to deal with that problem. Despite Gabe experiencing severe blood loss from Garza sucking the crap out of him, all Gabe knows is pure bliss. After converting Elena to my warlock cult, the base building project was going splendidly. While Elena spends her time creating our very own underground bunker with her mining skills, Gabe uses what little brain cells he has left to relentlessly flail at our enemies. Now that we have a defender and a constructor who can do most of our everyday needs, Garza could focus on more important things like starting the apocalypse. In order to start the apocalypse, we're gonna need 3 things. The first is a group of 6 powerful warlocks. The second is a magic circle for the warlocks to channel their dark energy into. And finally, the third is an arcane forge used to build the materials in order to cast the spell to summon Hell's demons. Let's just start with the easiest one, banding together a group of 5 schizo doomsday yearning warlocks. There are 2 methods of obtaining a warlock. The first, and of course more preferred, is by capturing and enslaving other warlocks. However, mages in Rimworld would rather have their brains spontaneously combust than be captured by another colonist. I once watched a Death Knight set a trap on himself and crawl into it just so he could not be integrated into my colony. I'm not really sure what's so bad about wanting to start the apocalypse, but apparently these guys just aren't into it. So we'll have to go with the second method. The second method of getting a warlock is a little bit more difficult, but doesn't result in spontaneous brain combustion. This is by creating a warlock. By leveling up our vampire Garza to become an even more powerful warlock, he can create books teaching other magically gifted pawns how to engage in the dark arts of demonology. So we'll go for this method. After we captured Elena, base production was going extremely well, and we were now at the point where we could research new materials and our pawns could live somewhat comfortably. Although things were going smoothly, Gabe did suffer a minor inconvenience while we were expanding. A hog decided to beeline it straight towards him and ended up ripping off his left arm. However, who needs an arm when you have the demonic projections of your happiest thought constantly being wired into your brain? Our colony really got thrown into a golden age when we accepted a quest to house a summoner at our base for 12 days. In return for housing him, we'd gain someone who could farm. Because we were going through a bit of a mandatory hunger strike, I thought it would be a pretty good idea to accept this quest. In order to start turning our colonists into warlocks, we're gonna need to have Garza busy researching. Thankfully, although the summer who had stayed at our base was a lazy freeloader, his minions were not. By having Parson summon multiple elementals to work for me, this significantly increased the base's progress and allowed me to create a workshop where I could create the materials needed for our warlock conversion therapy. Not long after, a group came by asking me for 120 silver to rescue their friend who had been kidnapped. Now, if these guys keep going around asking random people for handouts, they could get pretty hurt or even killed. So I decided to teach them a lesson by beating the shit out of them and kidnapping one of their friends. After converting their kidnapped friend McLean into our demon summoner cult and finally gaining our new farmer Kemp, our cult was starting to become restless about the fact that we hadn't fulfilled our ideology roles. So I decided to put the kidnapped pawn McLean into the role of our moral guide. I assumed he had the best understanding of morals considering his unfortunate past. I then of course made Garza our leader, as he would be responsible for starting the apocalypse. However, the last role was a little bit tricky. We needed someone who could fulfill our Houdini role. This person would be responsible for granting non-magic pawns the gift of magic. I decided to give this to my one-armed familiar Gabe, since he wasn't really good for anything else with only one arm. Little did I know, this small role change was about to make the one-armed lobotomite Gabe one of the most powerful members of my cult. As many of you know, Houdini was a powerful mage who was known for escaping quite literally anything. Much like Houdini, Gabe could escape things too, like death.
No. Wait. Wait.
Despite Gabe being a literal punching bag who was meant to be a meat shield for Garza, Gabe refused to die. So I figured there's only one thing better than having an immortal puppet who could summon fire demons from hell to destroy my enemies. After showing the barbarians a glimpse of what's to come with the apocalypse, we captured 2 of their people. The first was Trey and the second was Infamous. On top of that, we had now fully researched and created a scribing table. This means that not only can Gabe summon demons from hell, but with his ability to give magic to others, we can now teach one of our colonists how to become a warlock. I decided to teach Elena the arts of demonology, partially because I felt bad about enslaving her, but mainly because with a female and male warlock, I can now do this. Do you know how people say, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy? Well, I've taken that saying, tore it up, pissed on it, thrown it in the washer, and bleached it to the point where you can't tell if the stepsis is stuck in the washer or the washer is stuck in the stepsis. What I mean by that is this demon will absolutely annihilate anything in its path, and there are very few things that can stop it. However, there is one small payment for temporarily allowing a demon to take over your body and cause chaos. The soul of the colonist is traded with the demon, and after leaving his body, the pawn goes through an excruciatingly painful process that results in his soul being eaten while he is burned alive. But you know, that's something that I would only wish on my worst enemy. So I think it's time to start making more enemies. After Trey died a horrible, painful death, I decided to capture some more barbarians so I could do the same thing to them. We captured two pawns, Luke and Pickle. We turned them into slaves, and I made Luke into Elena's soulbound familiar. This way, Garza and Elena can take Gabe and Luke on playdates where they can socialize and talk about the things they love, like crazy panthers and fat animals, I guess. I don't really know if those are related, but let's be real, I have no clue what's going through these guys' heads. Unlike male warlocks, female warlocks are actually the complete opposite of their counterpart. Where male warlocks focus on things like mentally manipulating their enemies, female warlocks focus on more physical manipulations. Adam and Eve were sinners for taking a bite out of an apple in hopes of becoming God. However, I say fuck the apple. I want the whole goddamn tree. By making pacts with the literal devil, my male and female warlocks can use their sin to become some of the most powerful creatures on Earth. For instance, by using the lady warlock's vortex ability, then using the male warlock's schizophrenic spell, I can cause all my enemies to become trapped in a gravity well that makes them go batshit crazy and beat the shit out of each other. Although this is awesome, having a clan of warlocks is not all great. Due to their ability to control the minds of others, warlocks are essentially demonic empaths. This means that if one of my pawns stubs their toe and decides to kill everyone in the room, their empath abilities can cause the entire colony to have a mental break all at once. And this is exactly what happened when we decided to convert our third warlock, Infamous, into our cult. After a magic rift showed up, summoning earth elementals at our base, I had Gabe summon a counter portal of his own demons. We quickly rushed to take care of this rift, as every second it's open, animals on the map get the overwhelming urge to consume one's flesh, and the air is so toxic that it'll cause you to legally qualify for disability. Despite the temptation of giving myself a free lobotomy, I would like to have more intellectual conversations than talking about fat animals and crazy panthers. After destroying the rift, several of my pawns were extremely injured. This led the entire colony down a spiral of mental breaks simply because my colony was full of strong-willed, empathetic men. Now, at this point, you might be thinking there's a major flaw in my whole warlock cult plan, and it's kind of seeming like adding more warlocks would only lead to more violent outbreaks and more mental breakdowns. But let me ask you a question. When you go to the coffee shop and get the most milk-infested latte known to man, why do you finish it? You know the toxic fumes that will be released from your ass cheeks will violate every Geneva Convention known to man. So, why do you finish it? Are you simply shit-maxing?
You taking a shit?
Do you enjoy making your friends suffer through chemical warfare? Or have you simply not accepted defeat? Despite a small percentage of my viewers being well acquainted with chemical warfare, I'd like to think most of you will simply not accept defeat. Now, I too have suffered multiple battles with my poo vessel. However, much like you, I'm determined to continue my ways. So instead of stopping our warlock production, it's time to make our colony the most dangerous group of doomsdayers known to man. The first thing we need to do is turn our headquarters into a true evil warlock castle. In order to do so, we're gonna need knights, a castle, and most importantly, a goddamn dragon. The French say that Rome wasn't built in a day, but the French also made this guy, so I wouldn't really depend on them for information. By using the power of free labor, we were able to build up a castle in a matter of hours. Now, I know what you're thinking. The design is very German. Let me walk you through the process. First, our enemies are welcomed at the gates by being thrown into the trenches and blasted with crossbows, shadow bolts, and most importantly, schizophrenia. If that wasn't a warm enough welcome, our one-armed knight Gabe then sprints full speed at them on a freaking dragon. The dragon then proceeds to maul and eat every last one of them while our crossbows fire from a distance. Finally, if someone is unlucky enough to make it to the firing line, they are then greeted by our tank named Pickle. Pickle is in the equivalent of medieval power armor. Pickle also enjoys bashing the head of his enemies in while experiencing pure bliss. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Pickle doesn't feel pain. Now that our base is safe from most attackers, and Gabe is literally Donkey from Shrek, I had Gabe ride his dragon to rescue Meza, Elena's long-lost husband. After rescuing Meza, we then began turning him into our fourth warlock. However, while performing the warlock transformation on him, an orc named Orlean asked to join our colony. At this point, I have now regressed from my alpha male status to a soy boy, as I am now foaming at the mouth from the very idea of having an orc warlock on our team. Now that we are only 2 warlocks away from world destruction, I thought it was a good time to work on that magic circle I mentioned earlier. By using 5 other warlocks in this circle, we can bring about doomsday. So I had Elena create this in our workshop. We then created the Arcane Forge. Since the forge requires mana to use, only a powerful warlock with extremely high intellect could use it. So of course, we had our most experienced warlock, Garza, work on creating the Staff of Blazing Power. This staff would allow a warlock's power to be significantly increased, and this would be the main catalyst for our demon summoning spell. While Garza worked on creating the ultimate warlock staff, our one-armed dragon riding demon summoning lobotomite Gabe started the magic ritual to turn Orlean into a warlock. I was planning to turn Garza's new vampire wife, McLean, into our final warlock. However, while I was waiting for the next ritual, my pawns managed to capture another warlock from a barbarian raid, somehow without having his brain explode. He had an unwavering loyalty to his barbarian clan, but of course, I had no problem enslaving him. After Garza finished making the Staff of Blazing Power, it was finally time. We now had the power to turn the world into ashes. Let it be known that after 3 long years, I have finally become the most powerful magician of them all by pulling off my greatest trick yet, making the world disappear. Through absolute destruction, I will forever be known as the greatest mage in all of history. Whether heaven or hell, my name will be echoed through the halls. Try to one-up world destruction, Diddy. Well, we have successfully completed our challenge, and demons will forever roam the earth, causing mass destruction. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, and if you want more Rimworld content, check out more of my medieval Rimworld videos, or this video where I raise 50 bug children to destroy my neighbors. With that being said, thank you guys for watching, I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.